Hey, Facebook land, Dr. Steve here, and just wanted to say hi. I got these fancy new Wellness Way shades in celebration of our seminar coming up in Florida in May here, and I'm super excited for it. So I wanted to get into a little bit today about what I'm doing to protect my immune system in this crazy time of in my opinion, mostly complete insanity, let's not get too much into that. I think that a lot of the reaction is overblown, and yet on the flip side of that, if you haven't been taking care of your immune system and taking care of your body, maybe you should be a little bit frightened. However, myself and the patients that I have an influence on that have been working and developing their health and investing in their health for the last few years, they have very little fear about this. We have more fear about people's irrational behavior during this time. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to take and share a little bit about what we're doing in the office, changing things up just slightly in regards to, we're definitely 100% still seeing patients, because as you'll see here, it's extremely important that your nervous system is free from stress. The immune system, the nervous system, and your hormone system are all very intricately connected. And so from a chiropractic perspective, or a wellness chiropractor's perspective, making sure your nervous system is free from interference can be a huge difference and make or break it between whether you get sick or stay well, or whether you recover from any sort of viral or bacteria infection. If you look back at the swine flu epidemic of 1918, which was actually a new strain, a novel strain that came through the community, and a lot of people ended up getting sick from it. However, in the Midwest, these people that actually started seeing chiropractors regularly were basically put chiropractic on the map and saved our profession, because people started going in droves to see chiropractors. And because these people were not, they were recovering, they seemed to recover much easier. Now back then, we didn't have the science and technology and the research to know how the immune system and the nervous system were very much connected. However, the results speak for themselves. In fact, there was somewhat over 250 people in Oklahoma actually that were considered to be up for dead, and basically they had referred to chiropractors, because chiropractors were saying, "Hey, give us the ones you think are going to die," and all but 25 of those people were saved. So that's pretty darn fascinating. So what would I suggest a person do to protect their immune system, or to help their immune system to fight off whatever it is that it's fighting off, right? So basically, I made a list here, and I apologize for the messy doctor handwriting. However, I do want to cover some of these things in regards to factors that harm our immune system. Okay, number one. So we break this down into threes, right? If we look at chemical stressors, physical stressors, and emotional stressors, all three of these are going to negatively affect how our immune system actually has the ability to perform and function. Chemical, okay? So sugars and processed sugars and processed carbohydrates, right? This includes grains, flours, breads, all these things that not only create a massive amount of inflammation, but also insulin resistance itself will downregulate your body's immune response to illness, right? Vitamin C is all over the news today about the alternative news, and they're using it in China as a treatment. Well, it's interesting because the receptors for vitamin C are very similar to the receptors for insulin in your body. And so what can happen is, if you're insulin resistant, it's going to be really hard for your body to use vitamin C, and that's where it takes so much of it to get a therapeutic, or to get an effect on your body. So correcting insulin resistance, right? And that's something that we really look at strongly in our office, because it can create so many problems, and but particularly for this, it makes our immune systems prone to being damaged, right? So knowing where you're at, do you have a degree of insulin resistance, right? Inflammatory foods, right? Your fats, proteins, and carbs, all three of these, there are pro-inflammatory foods, and then there's non-inflammatory foods. And what I mean by that is, particularly your immune system's job is to respond to the proteins in foods. Now, just because a food is a fat, so to speak, doesn't mean that there's not a certain amount of protein in it, right? Or same thing as your carbohydrates, that there's not like grains, for instance. They're thought of as a carb, but it's the protein in it that actually is the gluten, which is very inflammation promoting. Anything that's going to promote a lot of inflammation is going to detract from your body's immune system's ability to actually perform and do what it's supposed to do. The next thing, again, and that is very much individualized, and so that's where one thing we talk about is actually doing some food allergy testing to see specifically for you what foods are triggering your immune response. Okay. We use Immunolabs, which Dr. Flynn is a huge fan of Immunolabs, and believe me, he does his research when it comes to finding the best lab out there for running food allergy testing. Gut and GI health, I put that in there because oftentimes looking at the health of the GI tract is extremely important, and making sure that that's healthy itself. Physical, right? So physical stressors is another thing, right? So our spine or our nervous system, any sort of stress on our nervous system and our spine itself is going to lead to a downregulated immune system. And this is one of the beliefs, or one of the reasons why they believe that people that saw chiropractors back during the swine flu epidemic back then had such better results when compared to mainstream medicine. Another thing I want to take a step back to the chemical, and I should write it on there, but is avoiding medications that damage or hurt your immune system, right? Things like lowering a temperature, right? So taking medications that lower a fever actually handcuffs your immune system and makes it basically really hard for your body to do what it's designed to do. That fever is there for a reason, to help you fight off these infections, right? Acetaminophen, right? You're going to see one of the one of the supplementation recommendations is glutathione. Glutathione is one of the main, very important for how your immune system works. And acetaminophen actually depletes your body's glutathione stores. And so if you're doing that, you're literally handcuffing your body's immune system's ability to perform, okay? So spine, nervous system stress, sedentarism, so not moving, right? So they're telling everybody to stay home when we need to get out and move. So if you need to do it in your living room, if you need to do it in your garage, if you need to go out for a run, go out for a run, for crying out loud. It's not like you're going to be coughing or spitting on somebody while you're out for a run. Overexertion, right? So we talk about moving, or work, basically stressing our bodies out too hard and too long, right? And with that goes to lack of adequate or quality sleep, okay? Making sure you're getting enough sleep from your body. For different people, it's different minimums. Women generally, physiologically, need a little bit more sleep than men. 7 to 9 hours a night is kind of ideal. And then if we talk about quality sleep, okay? One of the things that we always talk about is sedation does not mean sleep. Okay, so just like what the research shows, if you drink even an ounce of alcohol, right, that actually affects your body's repair and capabilities and affects your sleep cycles. Even though you might be passed out or drugged to sleep, same thing. And this goes down into the sleep medications too, where risk of mortality is 400% higher for people taking these medications, because you're not truly recharging your body in the same way. It's basically like drugging yourself to get to sleep. So if you're not sleeping, figuring out answers to why you're not sleeping. Granted, at this point, it may be a little bit too late. By the time you get those problems solved, we're going to be beyond this whole swine, or this whole coronavirus epidemic thing. So emotional, right? And so this is huge, you guys, today. So important. Emotional stress, right? So the stress of all this, everywhere you look in the news, there's doomsday, all these people, these numbers, which we don't really even, when we think about the grand scheme of 6 billion people on Earth, and we're talking about, 1 or 2 people in states that have contracted a virus, maybe not even died, right? We look at the people that are actually dying from this are severely immunocompromised. They have all these issues going on, right? They're probably insulin resistant. They have all these different factors, right, that are actually handcuffing their immune system. And I want to ask a question. What is the actual solution that they're being given, right? Are they being medicated, right? Are the medications actually further handcuffing their immune systems to be able to recover, right? Are they given these different things that we're going to get into here in a second, right? In regards to helping to strengthen their immunity, right? Because if you haven't seen, most of these people, pretty much everybody's been over 50 years of age now, which leads to, when we look at chronic disease in America, the age of having chronic illnesses has lowered drastically over the last 20 years because of how we've gotten ourselves so much sicker as a society, because we don't take care of ourselves. Health and wellness has not been put at the forefront. And if there's anything I would hope that maybe we start talking about and having a different conversation, is about how can we actually improve resilience, okay? Another thing, when we talk about chemically, there's a study done in the military that was showing that people that received the flu shot were actually very much more prone to getting coronavirus itself. Maybe not this particular strain. However, if you look at that and how it goes into this group of viruses, right? If we're doing things that are damaging our immune system to try to help us to try to somehow safely protect us, the question that I have is, if it's causing other illnesses, when is the madness going to stop, right? When are we going to come up with an inoculation for absolutely every virus in this world today, and every time a new one comes up, we're going to actually throw a brand new experimental one without actually doing any studies, long-term safety studies, and just throw it at people? Or are we actually going to take a step back and get logical, and maybe, check out Dr. Flynn's videos on my Facebook page. Dude, the guy, the doctor, I mean, he's one of my mentors and probably one of the most brilliant guys I know of. But breaking down how the immune system works can be one of the most empowering things that you'll ever do. So you can learn and understand how the immune system works, so you don't have to be afraid of this stuff, right? You guys, I'm not afraid of the virus. I'm more afraid of the chaos and the financial ruin that it's bringing, as well as the loss of our personal freedoms. We as a society have, within a week, have given away pretty much all of our personal freedom for the sake of fearing a media-derived epidemic. So what can we do to help out our immune system, right? Factors that improve or balance your immune system health, right? I want to avoid things like words like boost or anything like that, because of all the connotation that goes into not wanting to, boost your immune system. But having a healthy balance and a highly performing immune system that does what it's supposed to be doing, you guys, there are some really great ways to perpetuate that and to help it. So chemically, right? So basically, number one, fix this stuff over here that we already talked about, right? So address that. If you're not, get help addressing it as soon as possible. You guys, within a matter of weeks to months, we can make a huge amount of difference in insulin resistance, and reducing inflammation, and improving your body's resilience to illness. Avoiding these inflammatory foods, right? So getting people on a non-inflammatory diet that includes, right, testing to see food allergy testing, to check GI health, what your gut's doing, right? Testing immune function, getting rid of processed grains and sugars, as well as processed, proteins and fats and all that sort of thing, right? There's unhealthy fats, just like there's unhealthy carbohydrates, right? And not avoiding foods that are actually going to be health promoting, like your healthy fats, your non-inflammatory fats, like basically looking at getting tested, right? So ways that we can check levels of inflammation, check immune, so we can actually monitor how things are improving. Insulin resistance. If you've never had insulin levels checked, even if you're not overweight, get those checked, because it gives you a great barometer of long-term what's going to happen long-term. Food allergy testing, GI or stool testing, to see so much of that immune system. There's a lot of things that happen in the gut, right, that are related to the immune system, and it's your first line of protection whenever you put something into your mouth, and keeping things in, whether things get into your bloodstream or not. Further protection, right? So what supplementation am I doing as a doc here to help? Right, so astragalus. Reishi is something I do on a daily basis anyways. Reishi mushroom is a really great immune modulator, meaning it doesn't up ramp or down ramp anything. It helps it to perform better in areas that it needs to, basically, without getting into too many details. Elderberry complex, yes, there's a lot of drama behind this, cytokine storm and all that sort of thing. But even if you go back to one of Dr. Flynn's videos, in regards where he talks about this, where a cytokine response is actually your body's normal, natural response. And so if you're doing the rest of this stuff here, and your elderberry complex is going to help your body to respond better. Um, Vitamin C, liposomal vitamin C, and liposomal glutathione. Both of those can be very impactful. And again, if you're looking at reversing insulin resistance, if you have a well-functioning liver, the importance of these becomes less crucial, and yet I'm still going to bump them up slightly in order to help to increase my resilience. Vitamin D levels. Get your vitamin D levels checked, right? If you're less than 60, you need to be supplementing, right? And a lot of times people maybe have lab tests where they show like 35 and it doesn't show normal. Look at the research, and the research shows anything below actually 75 increases risk of chronic disease, right? And lowers immune performance. And so you want to make sure those levels are adequate so your body can do what it needs to be doing. Physical stressors, okay? Again, getting sunlight, right? Sunlight is huge. Getting outdoors, getting your body temperature elevated, whether it's through exercise, whether it's through a sauna, right? That helps your immune system to perform more efficiently. Removing subluxations, right? That's from a chiropractic perspective. A subluxation or a shift in that structure of that spine puts stress on that body's area and will actually send stress signals into the brain and leads to a state of stress physiology, right? Stress physiology lowers immune resilience. And so that's where particularly that upper cervical spine is so important when it comes to immune health. That upper thoracic spine is really important when it comes to the inside out perspective of a chiropractic adjustment, where it can affect how those lungs are working. And we've seen functional lung problems very, very significantly improve through the practice of chiropractic. Move, right? So exercise, some high intensity interval training. Research shows that turns on a bunch of immune health genes, as well as it simply helps your immune system to work better. Getting plenty of rest and plenty of sleep. And again, sedation is not sleep. Emotional, right? So prayer, meditation. Make sure you're letting, especially in this massive time of chaos, right? Allowing your body and allowing your brain and your mind to actually slow down and focus on what's really important, right? Assuming an attitude of gratitude, right? Where we're thinking about the things that we're thankful for, and having faith in God or whatever it is that you have faith in, right? And then acting. One of the best ways I've ever heard it said is pray like it all depends on God, and then act like it all depends upon you. So it doesn't mean just throwing things to God and then starting to listen for the answers about what I should be doing. And this is one of those answers, right? Of getting your health in order, right? Stop pushing off or poo-pooing those health and wellness people, and actually start to take responsibility, so that you don't have to fear this thing, and so you don't have to feel defeated and be part of that where our freedom is actually being taken away because we're such an unhealthy culture. Rest, sleep, right? We'll talk about that. So gratitude, right? So gratitude and attitude, and laughing, right? So make sure that you're still having fun. You guys, like this, I can identify with any of you guys when it comes to like being preoccupied about, oh my gosh, like, are my patients gonna all cancel on me, or is everyone gonna stay home, and is everyone gonna go bankrupt, right? Making sure we find time to laugh and enjoy life at this time is something that can be really crucial, right? And so what are we doing in the office? Maybe that's slightly different. We're making sure that we have some great natural antibacterials to help to make sure we're wiping down tables. We're actually going to be getting some extra stuff so that if you feel like you'd be more comfortable to make sure that everything is wiped down cleanly between each and every visit, that you can actually help yourself out. We're going to have that available so that you can grab it. Wipe your table down so you can rest assured that things are as spick and span as possible. Normally, we have fairly high standards for cleanliness and that sort of thing anyways. And yet I know some people will feel more comfortable with us taking some extra precautions. I want to honor that. I believe that the body's internal resilience is ultimately what's going to keep you from being sick. However, I do want to honor that in you if you feel like you want to make sure that there's less bacterial counts on the tables and that sort of thing. Our rehab area, again, we have cleaning supplies all there, and most of our patients already do a really great job of doing their self-cleaning, wiping down their equipment after they've used it and everything as well. So with the exception of that, I'm looking forward to more sunny days and where we can kind of move past all this chaos, and I hope everybody else gets a swift resolution to that as well. That's all I got from the Dr. Steve from the Wellness Way, and I hope you guys have an awesome afternoon.